Hello guys, I welcome you to my first JavaScript tutorial. Alright, most of you know that most of my videos have been centered on HTML, CSS and Python, and I've been tutoring you on Django framework. Now for today's class, we are going to be looking at JavaScript in general. This tutorial is made for the absolute beginners. All right, so the absolute beginners, but the prerequisite to take this course is that you must have a little knowledge of HTML and CSS. So once you have that knowledge of HTML and CSS, you are ready to go. All right, as you all know, that JavaScript is used to add interaction to a web page. Already I have told you what a web page is. A website is just a document, a text document that expresses whatever you want it to express. So the HTML is used to build up the structures of the website, or what we can actually call the component of the website. And then we have the CSS, which we use to beautify it, to add colors, to add fonts and font sizes, decorate it to look appealing to the user. Now, when a website is built to be appealing to the user, but that website is not interactive, such a website becomes boring to the user. And at this point, JavaScript comes in. Now, JavaScript works better for harmonizing what we can call the user's experience. It helps us to maintain and sustain the user within the website. All right, so I can take you to some of the websites. So let's just take a look at some websites let's look at varsity forum.com.ng. So let's look at this website. I hope it is still opening. All right, so this is a blog website, and if you look at this website, the beauty of this website is in terms of the arrangement of the website, the positioning, the colors, the fonts that we use here, the images. But then there are some interactions that are automatic on this website. For instance, if I hover here, you can see that I have some informations on this. If I reduce this to the mobile framework or the mobile frame, and I click on this moon, and you see that it changes the color. This is what we call the JavaScript in action. We can still have this dark mode here. So all these are what JavaScript can do for a website. As well, you can see that we have some information flowing in within this website. It looks like someone is uploading new content to this website, but that is actually not the case. If you look at here, that is because JavaScript is playing out. All right, so now for us to be able to understand JavaScript very well, there are some certain things that I'm going to show you while working with JavaScript. Now, on this page, remember that the website has two parts, which are the front end and the back end. And then the front end is the part that controls what the user sees on the website, like the colors, the font, the components that you are seeing, the contents you are seeing. Now, but what is the other part? The other part is known as the back end. And that is the part that controls everything that you are seeing here. And it helps us to make a dynamic content so that what this user is actually seeing is different from what this user is seeing. So contents are served based on the user's preference. For instance, if you are using Facebook, if you log into your account and I log into my account, the colors, the design of Facebook remains the same for the both of us, because that is the front end. It doesn't have much of dynamic interactions. But then when it comes to the back end, now what content you are served by Facebook, the content you are served by Facebook is completely different from the content I am being served by Facebook. So that is the back end controlling it. So most of these information, they are coming from the database, and those database language, which is we can have the SQL language, which is the database query language, which controls the retrieval, updating, and deleting, and so much creating of informations, and then stores it on the database, retrieves it, and so on and so forth. And then the scripting languages like or other backend languages like the Python, the PHP, and so on. Most of them, they now work together with this SQL language or the query language to give us the data back, that the data we are seeing, and make sure that we are being served by our preferences. All right, too much talk. Let's get on with the actual thing that we came here to do. All right, so let's go to our IDE. So of course you all know that I love making use of the Visual Studio Code. Now the Visual Studio Code is an integrated development environment. Now IDE represents two things. The first is a text editor, and the second is a terminal. Now, the text editor is what we can use, any software program that we can use to write text files, all right? And then the IDE is a software that helps us to run a command on our system. So we can have, for the Windows, we have the Windows command prompt and the Windows PowerShell. For Mac and Linux, we have the Bash and we can also have Ubuntu for Linux and so many other terminals that we can be able to use. All right, so an IDE contains the text editor and the command prompt or command line, or the terminal contains the two of them integrated together, and that is why it is called integrated development environment. All right, let's proceed. So I would be using two ways. I will have to use two methods to show you or to teach you. The first method I'm going to use is that I'm going to be displaying my JavaScript in my HTML content. And then the second method is to display it on the console. But I will be making use of more of HTML displays because I am taking you on a web development. All right, so let's proceed. So let's create our first HTML file. Let me call it index.html. All right, and then let us create our let's create a folder so that we can arrange our file properly. So let's create a folder for the assets, and then within this asset I will have another folder for JS, and inside of JS I would have my app or my main.js. So this is my file. my JavaScript file. Now there are so many ways you can write JavaScript. You either write JavaScript on a separate file, or you can write it within your HTML. It will still work. All right, so let's have our demo content. I'll call this JavaScript tutorial. Okay, tutorial. Then here let's have a display for H2 and saying JavaScript. All right, let's run our code first so that we can see what we have here. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, so this is what we have. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to make sure I have these two things together here. So make sure I have two of them together here. Minimize this much more. So the essence of doing this is to make sure that whichever changes that I make will appear immediately within our screen, so I don't have to be moving back and forth to see what I did or the changes that I did on my code. I hope you understand what I mean. All right, so let's proceed. Now, to write my JavaScript, most people would want to place their JavaScript within the head section of our website. So I can write it in line by saying script. Then within this script area, all my JavaScript are going to appear here. For instance, I can have alerts, hello world. And if I save this, automatically I have it here saying hello world. I can still move this script from the head and move it anywhere within the body of my HTML. And if I save it and refresh, I still have hello world. Now, if I move it as well from here down to this point, it will still work. Refresh, it still works. Now, but then what is this? What is the exact place, or where is the exact place that I can place this JavaScript? Now the answer is that you can place JavaScript anywhere within your file, within your HTML file, and it still works. Okay, so it is unlike the CSS that you must place within the head section. It is unlike the CSS that you must always place within the head section. JavaScript works anywhere. All right, but because of users' experience, most of the time JavaScript tends to load faster if you place it on the head. All right, because, and the essence is the browser reads from top to down. So as the browser is reading from top to down, once it gets to the JavaScript, it first interprets or writes, prints the whole content of the JavaScript. And as it is loading the JavaScript content, most of the time delays the display of the HTML pages. So most of the time, the users that are going through these websites, it may take a lot of time for the full website to load, which means that maybe some users may get tired of waiting and they move out of that website. It's part of users' experience. So what happens is that the best way is to place it just below the body ending tag. Just below, this is the body ending tag. So you place it just below the body ending tag. And the essence is that so that once the website is loading, all the HTML we first load before the interaction. Of course, what are you interacting without the content of the web page? I hope you understand that. All right, let's proceed. So this is the best practice. Of course, we are not going to be making use of writing our JavaScript direct within our HTML. So what we are going to do is we are going to have another file where we are writing all our JavaScript, but then we must display them within our HTML. So how do we now link this JavaScript to our HTML page? So what we do is, since we have this file here, and this file is stored on this folder called assets under another folder called JS. So what we're going to do is we come to our HTML just below the body ending tag. So we can say, we can just say scripts. So we pick script source, and then src means source. So where am I taking this JavaScript from? Where am I bringing the JavaScript from? Once you place the script tag, HTML understands that you want to write a JavaScript file. All right, so the source, which is src, signifying the source, where am I getting this JavaScript from? All right, so I'm getting this JavaScript from the asset folder, and then under the JS folder, and the name of the file is main.js. We have automatically linked this file. Let us verify whether or not we have linked this file. All right, so we can come here and we say alert, and then hello world. If we save this and then load this, we have hello world. So clap for yourself. We have written our first JavaScript program. All right, so we proceed to the next section of this training. In the next section of this training, we are going to be talking about displaying JavaScript on our content or on our web browsers. All right, now how do we display JavaScript, or where do JavaScript come from? All right, now what happens is that JavaScript has been bundled on all browsers. For Chrome, I think Chrome, they have V8 engine, and then other like Firefox and other ones, I can't remember the engine they have, but the JavaScript has a general body that maintains it, which is called the ECMA. The ECMA, they maintain it, and of course that is why JavaScript can also be called ECMAScript. All right, so we'll be looking at how to display the content of a JavaScript in the browser. All right, so there are so many ways to display on the browser using our JavaScript. Of course, if I just come here and say hello, it's not going to be printed on our browser. You can see that nothing is printed on our browser. And if you want to see whether this thing exists within our JavaScript, well, let's see. Okay, let's go to our inspect element. So we go to inspect, and we can come down here on the sources. That is where you see all the files that you have. And then on the sources, you can see the asset, and then you the main.js, and you can see hello. So it exists. Let's go to our console. You can see the console is empty because nothing actually exists there. All right. So how do we now make sure, how do we actually make sure that this exists? Let me reopen this. I made a mistake to close it. So let's reopen the browser. I wanted to, minimize it. All right, so we are back. Now, how do we print on the browser's display? So there are so many methods that we can use to print on our browser. And the first method, I am going to comment first. Now, for one line comment, you can use double slash. All right, I will still tell you the essence of making a comment while writing your program. But for now, let's just proceed. So to write or to display a content on the browser, we can use this document.write method. So we can use document.write. We can also use document.getElement by anything. So we can have by ID. We can also have by class name, and by tag name. So remember, this by class name can be replaced by ID. So we can also either use document.getElement by ID, document.getElement by class name, document.getElement by tag name. Any of these can work. All right, so then we can also have document.querySelector, document.querySelector. We can also make use of alerts or window.alert, which can be shortened as alert, window.alert method. And we can as well make use of console.log. But the console.log is only applicable for the console. If you can remember when I just showed you now, I just showed you how to inspect some stuff on the console. So console.log only displays on the console. We are going to practice some few of them. We're going to practice the document.write, the document.getElement by ID, and then console.log. We've already seen what the windows.alert or window.alert can do, but we can also at least do that. We also have the print, window.print or print, but we are not going to be talking about output on external devices. We are only talking about within the Windows device or within your desktop or within your browser. All right, so let's proceed to the first part of it. All right, now let's go on with document.write. What document.write does is that the document.write overwrites whatever that you have within your HTML. So let's look at it. Document.write hello world. Hello world. All right, let's see. Now you can see what happened here is that the JavaScript was added just here. Now if I want JavaScript to first print, look at this. Let's take this JavaScript from here to the head. Let's see. You see it comes up at the top. Let's undo this. Let's take it here. It still comes on the top. Let's undo. This is the right place for it. I hope you understand. Let's proceed. So this is what document.write can do. You can also add HTML tags within this and it's going to work. So let's see, let's add h1 tag to this and let's see what happens to it. So we have hello world in form of h1. So we can still add so many things. We can still add style, which is the CSS. We can still add styles. We can still add anything at all and it's going to work. So let's say style is equal to style is equal to color red, okay, let's just leave this for now. I'll still look into it, but you can add virtually everything, anything. You can add your CSS, you can add whatever thing that you want to add can be added here, and it works. So that is for document.write. So let's look at the document.getElement by ID. So what happens is that the document.getElement by ID, we are going to be talking about it in details. But for now, I am just showing you how to display on the browser's window. So we are just going to be talking about it in a little way, but then when I'm going to be talking more about documents, or about what we can call document object model or model, which is a way that JavaScript interacts with the content of our web pages. That JavaScript can override what we have on our web pages and give us what we want it to give to us, which is the proper interaction that we are talking about in JavaScript. So we are going to be talking about that in a later video, but for now, we are going to just show you what it could be used to do. So let's go to our HTML, and down here, let's have a screen. Okay, let me say, let me have an ID screen. Basically, what I want to do here is I want to have a form of a calculator that displays zeros initially, and then you now have a button that displays 1, 2, 3, or the digit buttons, and then when someone clicks it, it overrides the zeros that we have on the screen and write whatever that you just pressed on the button. So that is what I actually want to do here, and that is what the DOM is all about. All right, so let's look at this. So we have an ID. Basically, let me just not call this the screen. Let me use, let me use screen for the paragraph instead. So let's use this screen for the paragraph instead. All right, so I have an ID because I want to target it by ID. That is document.getElement by ID. All right, so I will have a button, and the button is going to be, let's have a button. It's going to be press me to write one. All right, press me to write one. All right, if you look at this button now, if I click anything here, nothing happens to these things that we have here. So what we do now, we're going to use JavaScript to do some magic. All right, so let's, guys, watch. Let's see what we can do with JavaScript. All right, so here I'm going to state a function, and don't worry about the functions. I will still show you what function is and what it is used to do. But for now, just watch me. So function, and then the function's name, let me call it press. I can call it virtually anything, but I want it to be press at this point. So I want it to do something for me. And what I want you to do is whenever some button is clicked, I want you to document dot get element by ID, and the ID is gonna be screen So what I am trying to do here is I want this JavaScript to get this paragraph whenever there is something. Okay, so now what do I want it to do with this paragraph? So I can say dot inner text, because I want to override the text, dot inner text, and then I want to set it as equal to 1. All right, so guys, I am done with this, but if I press here, nothing is happening. Why? Because I have not shown JavaScript how to work with this function. So what I will do is I want you to, okay, when this button is clicked, this should happen. All right, so but guys, I have not told JavaScript what to do with it. So what I will do is there is what we call events. I will bring up an event, and that event will listen for click, which is on click. It will listen for click. Whenever it is clicked, it will call on a function, which is the function that I just written here. But don't worry about that. We are going to be talking about functions later on, so don't stress yourself. I just want to show you what you can use JavaScript to do. All right, so here I wanted to bring up this function, which is press. At this point, I'm done. Let's see the magic. Wow, wow. So you can see what just happened now. Let's refresh again. Click there again, so you can still see what happened. So what is happening here is that whenever this button is clicked, it gives us the another content. So JavaScript giving us that interaction, and that is what we can use the document.getElement by ID to do. I hope you understand this. All right, so let's move on to the window.alert. We have used window.alert before, but we will use it again. So let's use it again. Window.alert. So we use the alert method to, pop up something that is very important before the user continues with the website. You can see here that it gives us what just gives you an information prior to you using the website, and is used for explaining or to display very important notices onto the users. So that is what window.alert does. So the information can be placed within here. All right, apart from window.alert, the last thing that I'm going to show you for the display is the console.log. Now console.log will not display on the browser screen, but it will display on the console. Console.log let us have hello console. All right, hello console. Now if you refresh this website, you're not going to see anything. But if I come here and then right click here and go to inspect, now under that inspect I can go to console. If you go to console here, you see hello console, and it's coming from main.js on line 2. All right, on line 2. So let's see the line that it is coming from. You can see it is coming from line 2. This is what JavaScript display can do. So I hope to see you on the next class. The next topic that we'll be talking about is going to be JavaScript data types and variables. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.